We're now joined by the senior senator from the great state of Louisiana, Senator Dr. Mr. Bill Cassidy. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Tommy, how are you, buddy?
I'm well, thank you. We hadn't talked to you in a while, and we appreciate you coming back on. Let me first, before we get to any of the tax processes or tax bills, let me talk about something that you included, or let you talk about something that you included to benefit flood victims, and I presume that was in the final version?
So we got two things that are in the final Senate bill. We have to make sure it gets all the way through. One is disaster tax relief. So for all the folks affected in the great floods of 2016 in South and North Louisiana, they'd be able to deduct that which their insurance did not cover. It's worth about $500 million to those folks, helping them to rebuild their life. They'd also be able to take out of their 401k without penalty. Great provision. That's number one. Number two, and again, we're fighting to make sure it goes all the way through. There's about $100 million that will come to our state to help rebuild our coastline. It funnels through Go Mesa, but when President Obama put on the moratorium, we lost a lot of revenue because Go Mesa is funded from new projects being done in the Outer Continental Shelf. He does a moratorium, the new projects don't happen, we lose that revenue. So we backfill that money to allow Louisiana to rebuild its coastline, about $100 million. Two Louisiana-specific things. Actually, other states are included in various ways, but two things that specifically benefit Louisiana.
Let me throw this at you, because when it comes to the process of the way the bill was passed in the Senate, drain the swamp, which was a phrase the president used a lot, and comparing and contrasting the way that was passed to the way Obamacare was passed, is there a lot of difference between the two?
Absolutely. The two things I described, although specifically help Louisiana, are not specific for Louisiana.
I mean about the process, Senator.
Oh, the process.
Yeah.
The process is a little bit different in the sense that in every piece of legislation, there's folks who come and say, these are my concerns. But there are not, on Obamacare, when they came and said, this is my price. There's a little bit different between these are my concerns and this is my price. For example, on the disaster tax relief for Louisiana, Harvey, Irma, Maria victims are getting disaster tax relief. But the great floods of Louisiana were not. Now, that didn't make sense to me and didn't make sense to the people writing the bill either. So they were able to include us. Again, it wasn't so much, oh, you got to pay me off. It was rather, this is a matter of fairness between something which is the fourth largest storm in terms of damage in American history, at least up to that point, and these new storms that have since occurred that are being treated in such a way. I see a fundamental difference there.
But I'm just talking about I don't know, did anybody really have a chance to read it before it because the final version was finished when, and the vote was taken when, and how many pages is it?
It's about 400 pages. I certainly read it, and of course I'm on the finance committee, so I've been kind of working through it all along, and it's seen it section by section. They had multiple meetings about it,
right? And
then they gave it to us, and I was able to work through it and call my staff and say, what about this? I can only speak for myself, but I ended up feeling fairly familiar with it.
In terms of the corporate alternative minimum tax, is that going to find its way back in? Because it was inadvertently left out, was it not?
No, the corporate AMT is back in.
It is.
And without going into great detail, that may offset some of the things that we're trying to do. But at the end, we had to make sure that there's enough revenue, and that was put back in.
All right, in terms of the postcard thing, will the average American still be able to do their taxes on a postcard, or did that somehow get lost in all of this?
No, about 78% of people in the United States now just take the standard deduction. But with this, I think that number goes up to about 90%. So for most people, they won't need to itemize because we doubled the standard deduction, which gives you effectively a tax cut, double the standard deduction. And then, and so that means, hey, I don't have to figure out how much I gave to this group and that group and what my mortgage is. I just say, I save money just by taking the double standard deduction. That's what I'm taking.
IRS, going to get bigger or smaller?
We didn't specifically address the size of the IRS there, so I can't comment on that.
So I guess bottom line, in terms of policy like healthcare policy or tax policy, where both people don't come to the table and the person that's got the power at the time rams it through, and I know the Democrats do the same thing. Does that mean if the Democrats get a hold of the White House or Congress or either houses or both houses of Congress, that they're going to now have their own version of tax reform or health care, and we as the consumers keep or Americans keep being ping-ponged back and forth?
You know, you put your finger on one of the problems. Clearly, that's the way Obamacare was put through. I put through an alternative to Obamacare, which was deliberately written to try and bring the other side on board, and they just kind of stiff-armed. So what you described is what we're trying to avoid. I can't say this avoided it. I can give you all the reasons why it couldn't, but bottom line, we didn't. So one thing we have to fix going forward in Washington is how do the two sides work together. I think it's important for the country.
Let me ask you about Roy Moore real quick. My own personal feelings are that's up to the people of Alabama, that he's their senator if that's what they want. But after that, then maybe it becomes a bigger concern for the entire Senate. Do you have an opinion on any of that in terms of if he's elected or the process, what would happen? If he's elected and then the Senate votes, and I understand the ethics committee is evenly balanced, right? Democrat and Republican?
Yep.
So, and if they vote not to seat him, does that mean the governor then gets to appoint a senator until the election?
So it's a mess.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It's up to the people of Alabama. The people of Alabama and the people of Louisiana don't want folks telling them how to vote.
Nope.
If he comes up, it's kind of tied up now with the Al Franken case. Al Franken's, the picture he took with a woman on the plane was taken before he was a senator. He asked for a referral to the ethics committee, mainly to make sure things hadn't happened since he became a senator. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of folks upset about that, including Democrats. Believe me, Democrats are kind of leading the charge for a scalp. And so the Franken case, how that's handled, will probably have precedent upon how Roy Moore is handled. I can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
I got you. Thank you, Senator. Anything you wanted to throw in before we let you go?
Hey, man, I was supposed to call in earlier. I had been blowing and going. I woke up at 7:30 Eastern. I thought, oh, my gosh, I'm supposed to be calling Tommy. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem at all. We're just glad you came on. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Senator Bill Cassidy, what you think?